recent video here. Meet David Kim. He's a child of Korean immigrants that moved to this country to pursue their American dream. As a child dependency lawyer, David fights tirelessly to keep families together to ensure that every child has a chance to thrive. In 2022, David won 49% of the vote, making his race the most competitive congressional contest in Los Angeles. He's running against Jimmy Gomez, a career politician that has taken nearly $500,000 from corporate PACs and special interest groups like AIPAC. David Kim's campaign is 100% powered by the people like you. It's time to reclaim this seat from corporate-funded politicians. Join us in the most competitive race in Los Angeles. Are you with us? David Kim for Congress. So, if you guys missed it at the beginning, I know David. He probably doesn't even know me, but I know David by just seeing him in very, very, awesome political spaces in Los Angeles, whether that be the Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter used to do, and I think still does, a Wednesday rally across the street from the police headquarters and LAPD's union building, the union headquarters. And just like solidarity events with Albert Corrado. If you guys remember Albert we had Albert on the podcast before. So Albert, I respect Albert, and I know him first, or I respect David, and I know him first and foremost through my community activism and getting involved in spaces in LA that I'm inspired by. So that to me is this person is from the movements that we all look up to and respect so much. So that's another reason why I wanted to have him on. We'll watch this video and I will try to bring everybody in.
What does this look like? This is fucking democracy. This country, this great country, this democracy is evolving into an oligarchy. And an oligarchy is a country in which a few have tremendous wealth and power and exercise that power over all. Bernie Sanders, 1993. 30 years later, America, we're the richest country in the world. We have wealth and power beyond imagination. Our companies are the biggest and most valuable in the world. Our people are leaders in innovation, art, and culture. Yet, why the fuck are we standing here today? Why? Why is that?
For the record, this is outside of his opponent's home. This is outside of Jimmy Gomez's house. Bro, that's fucking sick. We talk on this broadcast a lot that these people should not, have a moment of peace, that the things they do, should we as community members, you should know where these people live. You should work to organize around, pressuring them in unique and new ways. And this is what it looks like, man. This is the opponent of Jimmy Gomez. This is David right here.
It's because 40 million of us just lost jobs and healthcare and housing. It's because for the past fucking 30 years, nothing has worked and we're tired. It's because prison money pays for his house.
Yo, alerts, Overt Sloth, thank you so much for the sub.
We take more people than any other country in the world. It's because Big Farm is paying for his house. Yeah. And we have people that can't afford doctors. We have oil paying for his house, and our future and our children's future are sold to them. We have debt collectors paying for his house, and we are drowning in debt. We have developers paying his house, and we have tenants lining up our streets. What the fuck is going on? We have cop money paying for his house, and we have 54% of our fucking city budget funding the LAPD. We have corporate money paying him out. And the same people who told us all these years, we can't afford it, we can't give it to you. Those same people, they printed $2 fucking trillion to save the stock market. 5 trillion. So what the fuck is going on? They say that there's a choice between the people and economy. Well, guess what? Why are we here now? We're here to say that we are the fucking economy! We are the economy! How dare you? This city was built on the labor of our brown brothers and sisters! We want amnesty! This city is moved by the soul of our black brothers and sisters! We want justice! This city is a rainbow of beautiful American color where everyone gets to have a say! And what we have to say here right now is his time is over. Yeah. We get to say that we put our communities first. We get to say that all of this is shit. He needs to go out. Because we're fighting for a country where all of us are equal, all of us are included, where all of us get to have a say. We say no to financial slavery. What the fuck? Why are we financially enslaved and shackled? Basic income for all. We say not you, not me, us. It's us, all of us together. That's why we're doing this. We're all in this together. We're with each other. And so we need to stand, we need to keep on fighting. And these are demands that we're saying today because we won't stop until our country is an America in which all of us have unalienable rights, in which all of us are equal, in which all of us are welcome. So stand with me, keep on protesting, keep on making change because we are the people, we matter, and we'll make change and remove him from office this November. My name is David Kim. I'm running to unseat this guy.
Guys, like for real. Sorry, I had to turn my camera off to get so that when we go in the Discord it works. But for real, man, that shit got me going, dude. That's exciting, man. To have somebody like I want to stress. Let's just bring him in. Let's just get into it. I can't get too worked up. Let's just bring him in. Oh, I guess that's not going to work. Hey, we're calling. Hello. Oh, 1 second. I can't hear you, but it might be my fault. This is normal stuff. We're just gonna figure it out. It is my fault.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you great. Can you guys hear me?
Awesome. Yes, I can hear you too.
Lovely.
Okay.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you. Hi, Tofu.
Welcome in, David. I'm Bret, but yeah, this is Tofu.
Hi, Bret, and hi, Tofu. Awesome.
We are live. I think both Tofu and I are live. Just so you know.
Yes.
So welcome in.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. No, we're so excited to have you on. We just on our
us.
channel, we just watched the your speech outside of Jimmy Gomez's house, and so I'm like, it got my blood pumping a little bit, it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing to see somebody, bringing accountability to power like that in such a direct way, and it's even more exciting that we can potentially vote for you. So I'm really excited to get this conversation going. I just kind of, I don't know. And if Tofu, unless you had like a banger first question going, I was gonna just ask, like, what got you into like political engagement, and like, why even run for Congress?
Yeah, for sure. Given that you just said you saw that video I'll start backwards in the sense of I remember that time we were standing in front. I actually did not go planned as a speaker. I was just, nor did I organize that action. I was invited to the action, and then it was kind of the logic of, hey, this guy that's here at the action is running against him. Let's have him talk. And so then who knows, emotions took over me that day, and that's what you saw in the video. But I think what's clear, Bret and Tofu, is at the time, it was during the pandemic, people were really living month to month, and a lot of people still are. It's not that conditions have gotten better, they've gotten worse. So I believe we're still in that same urgency. So because we came so close the first time, winning 47% of the general in 2020, winning 49% last cycle in 2022, we just thought, hey, we're the closest race in our district's history ever. This is the one time that we can really flip things. And since we almost did it, let's do it again because times are still tough. For me, how I first got involved was during Kenneth Mejia's campaign for Congress. So our current LA City Controller actually ran for this seat prior to my doing so. And I found out about running for Congress, running for office, that political activism part of everything when I volunteered for him in 2017 and 18. 2018, as a Green Party candidate, less than 1% registered as Green in the district, yet he won 28% of the general election vote. And our district is the most left-leaning district of California out of the 52 districts. So if you were going to flip a Democrat versus Democrat race, it would be to do it in our district. So with that being said, I was like, Kenneth, you need to run again. You need to run again. He was too tired. I said, hey, since I was one of your top volunteers, can I run? So then that's how that happened 2020. But really prior to that, Bret and Tofu, I had no idea. I thought that progressives kind of politics were winning for us all the time, which I mean, there's been some strides, but there could be so much more that needs to be done. And that's when I really learned, oh wow, our government's set up against us, and that you had kind of the 2016 Bernie frenzy kind of, and building upon that. But that's when I realized, wow, we can do all that we can do, but grit alone's not going to get us anywhere. It's these systemic issues that we need to get out of the way. So if you look at our platform, we've organized it, and we can talk about that later, into 3 core values of people-centered politics. That's how we really shift the conversation. We've had corporate-centered politics the past 50 years. Co-governance, co-governing with the people instead of party leaderships at the top. So we need to flip that model. And then 3, the life-empowering policies. We've heard Green New Deal, healthcare for all, housing for years, but there's been no change. It's all just been lip service because they just remain as campaign promises instead of natural policies coming out from people-centered politics and co-governance. So that's what it is, and that's why we're running.
Yeah, wow.
I know that was a lot, but
No.
I can follow up on anything else from that you had questions of.
No, it's great. I actually would love to just talk about like this race in particular, because in 2022, I remember being at the Robinson space with you whenever we were getting results, and I was like following, and I was working a lot with the Albert Corrado campaign at that time. Obviously, like the Kenneth Mejia campaign was something that we were all, working with and rooting towards for controller.
That's right.
And it was like, honestly, like that night, at least at Robinson, was a little somber. But I remember that night being like one where we were all like, yeah, Albert didn't win, Gina didn't win, but David got so, like, we were like, the race with David was like so incredibly close. And I think that's something that like maybe a lot of people who are interested in politics in Los Angeles, but like maybe don't feel like they can really make a difference. I think this race is one where individual contributions, individual like actions of canvassing or phone banking, like we can really like actually change this if enough people take those actions. So if you could talk a little bit more about just how winnable this seat is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you so much, Bret, for recognizing that. For us, 2020 completely, although I volunteered for Kenneth, after running a campaign the first time as a new candidate, wow, I underestimated it. So it was definitely a bootstraps campaign, but yet out of 5 primary candidates, we got second. Then the second time we ran, we learned from mistakes that we didn't want to repeat. But then at the time, I was also, to be real, interjecting myself as the co-campaign manager and trying to help. But I mean, I couldn't help it at the time because I also kind of was concerned that we needed to win, but then we also needed to be aware of our resources and use them wisely type of mentality. But this time around, we have a better team all around. We have a campaign manager, very accomplished campaign manager. She ran previously against current city council member Kevin De Leon, was 2% shy of forcing him into a runoff in 2020, Cindy Otteson. And so I've been able to let go of the reins, be more the candidate, visionary, and focusing on that. And she's really helped up with the managing, and we have a consultant, which we weren't able to do. So I think in terms of this cycle, yes, you see the trend of 47%. 49%, and now our hope is to get above 51. And it's number one because people had no idea who we were in the beginning, and now they do. And then number two, people are concerned now, and getting more concerned every time. So you have that, and despite and so I mean, and given what's going on with happening in Gaza, a lot of people have found our campaign about even our Congress member stance or lack of stances on what's happening in Palestine, whether it be, I mean, weapons embargo, yes, but nothing on there, nothing on ceasefire, nothing on anything else. And so a lot of people have been finding about us through that. And then also our voters are getting, more people are turning 18 and able to vote. And so with those factors in play, I mean, yes, there is still race politics going in play, and that's not something that will ever kind of go away. But I think those other factors are really influencing the increasing percentages of us for over the years. And so this time we flipped more Democratic endorsements that we weren't able to flip before, because they usually went to the incumbent. With local clubs, we've broken fundraising records for previous cycles. We've made more tangible contact, and we have more data as to how we're having contact with each voter. Is it by door? Did we talk to them through door, phone, text? How many more contacts do we need to make? And really being more mindful and professional with that data. So yeah. So this time we're pretty much set up to win, Brett. If kind of talking more about the race, but I think it's also just during the next times we're still laser focused. It's August 28th. It's about 40 to 70 days from the time that the first ballot goes out to the last day to vote. And that's a lot of time to really sway the election, especially in close ones. And so I think even though we've been on our game until now, I think now is the next step where especially after Labor Day, where everything's going to be heightened at least twice.
Absolutely. It's crunch time in that regard. A lot of people, this is the period of time where everybody starts to really pay attention, really starts to look in. This is where people are starting to Google what their district even is and stuff like that. Getting this close to the election. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, for the next several weeks, we're going to do the best we can. We represent our district represents 22 neighborhoods. If you picture LA in your mind, and imagine downtown in the central, and then place like a backward shaped L onto that with the center of downtown. So it goes north to 134 Freeway Eagle Rock. It goes east to East LA Boyle Heights, south to the 10 Freeway. It dips a little north in downtown to 7th Street, but then everywhere else it's pretty much around the 10th Freeway area. And then on the west, it's west of Koreatown and Hancock Park area, or not. It doesn't include Hancock Park, but right west of Koreatown around Crenshaw. So it's a big neighborhood. We're the fourth poorest congressional district. Big district. We're the fourth poorest congressional district in all of the 52 congressional districts of California. We're the 20th poorest out of the 435 in the country. We really, really, really need change right now, and just to just to literally only vote on quote unquote progressive issues when party leadership okays it at the top is not enough right now. Totally not enough. We could be doing more and be leading on more, and we're not leading in any way. No LA Congress member is leading on the basic issues that people really need right now, whether it be with housing, affordability, healthcare, debt, climate, and climate change really hits local poor neighborhoods more, whether it be in that regard, in any regard, and yet they continue to dole out money to other countries and to defense when people here really need it. So that's why we're running. I'm excited to be running again. One thing that's cool is the first 2020 cycle we ran with other candidates at the time, including Nithya Raman, who made it. 2022 we ran when Unisys was running. When Hugo Soto Martinez was running, they won. This time we're running when Isabel Jurado's running. What we couldn't do last time was because Unisys won her primary outright and got over 50%. None of her voter base helped carry us into general, but this time, I mean, given that KDL had a lot of challengers, Isabel didn't make 50%, but she made second. Strong. Or no, she topped Kevin. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
she got first place. What am I talking about? So, but she didn't get 50% because there are so many candidates in that race. But given that her voter base, our voter base, and the other candidates out there will all sort of be helping in that sense.
Yeah. So I think like a lot of things that like a lot of voters, especially in Tofu and I's communities right now, are kind of dealing with regard to like, you know, everything happening in the world is that they feel like a little like left behind by the Democratic Party. They feel like, you know, that they feel very like disillusioned that there's like not a candidate on the presidential ballot that, you know, they're giving a lot of their attention to that is pro ceasefire, pro arms embargo. You know, like can you kind of talk to like where you think you fit into that and how like do you see like a big like potential for your campaign to be a voice that can like, you know, advocate for those for Gaza on the ballot in California?
Yeah, and that's what we've always ran and will continue to run to be when reelected. In terms of going straight to our Democratic presidential vice presidential candidates, unfortunately, they're not taking a stance that we would want them to take, which actually represents the majority of the American people, where we don't want to continue funding the genocide that's happening there, to arm and supply what's going on. We want an embargo. We want a ceasefire now. We don't want to be sucked into the sound bites of Israel has a right to defend itself. Oh, but it sucks because of all the atrocities. And then ... nothing happened even after those speeches in the convention. Nobody from kind of the Palestinian side was allowed to even speak at the convention, and so there's a lot of disappointment, and rightfully so. And I hope and believe that our candidacy will be the voice that will continue to center these issues amongst Congress members, and won't shy away from doing that. I know that voices that have been put out, and those include Jamal Bowman from New York, Cori Bush from Missouri, and unfortunately AIPAC did its thing and accomplished their goals there. But in regards to us, there's, because of the connections we made, the people power, the base that we have, I don't believe that we're a candidate or a campaign that can be overcome by that, and we'll continue to be that voice and continue from where Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman had left off. So for those who are disappointed with the presidential campaign picks, I feel you, but also please focus on campaigns like ours who can really have this chance to go into Washington, because I think what's super important is for us to increase that number of voices speaking in Washington if some are taken away. And it's really a math game, because if we don't increase the number of people having that presence at the table, then we won't have anything. And so I know how disillusioned electoral politics can be, and rightfully so again, but at least where there is low hanging fruit, it's just a little push. And so I'm just telling you, we've done the work here, we've sowed the seeds with the constituents together here, and so here it's low hanging fruit, so why not just push it over? So it's that easy grab.
Yeah. I think you make a really good point, and you brought up AIPAC. You brought up Jamal Bowman, and the lost races from certain members of the squad, facing lots and lots of AIPAC money. I think on top of what you're saying about all of the connections on the ground that you're making, your focus on people-centered politics, and really matches up more has an opportunity to match up more with Ilhan Omar's experience in her recent election, facing tons of AIPAC money, but still coming out on top and winning that election handedly. It proves that despite tons of AIPAC money being put into your opponents, popular policies that speak to working class will take you a long way, despite the amount of moneyed interest that you face, in your opponents that you face. I really like on that. I really like all of what I've read about your Palestine, Israel-Palestine policies. You even talk a lot about BDS on your website, which I think is really important, especially for people in Congress to be pro BDS and to have more people on the Hill, voicing and standing up against anti-BDS policies. I did notice, so I like everything that you've had to say on Palestine. I did notice one thing that I just would like some clarification on, if I could. There is a section that says, let me see here. I had it written down somewhere. Could you elaborate what you mean by establishing a new international criminal court through the UN Security Council? I just had a little bit of trouble understanding, but everything else is on point as far as Israel-Palestine policy.
Yeah, it's not that we have any detailed plans in regards to that, but obviously I think there are shortcomings. We need to pay attention to how we could better things. And I believe even with just in general. And so in regards to, did you find that one on the foreign policy page?
Yes, on the foreign policy page. Let's see if I could
pull it. I just want to look at it more specifically.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No worries.
Let me see. Foreign policy.
Establish
in Israel-Palestine at the very last bullet point
establish an international criminal court through the UN Security Council to prosecute illegal settlers in the West Bank and deliver justice to Palestinian families. Given our inability to even do anything internationally, really shows light to, whoa, do we even have procedures fit for this? And so I think this at least starts a discussion for us to talk about, hey, when world crises like these are happening, like genocides are happening right before our eyes, how do we get beyond the politicalness of everything? Because unfortunately, nothing's still being done. And it's still happening, although it's not something we see every day, it's still happening, and children and people are being killed every day right now. And so it's to start this discussion about, hey, if this is going on, how do we prevent this in the future? That means that we're not really centered on human lives right now if something like this could continue. So this is just kind of one of those ideas, and it's one of the things that I've kind of read upon. There's different ideas as to what that would look like, but really I think those who have been talking about a lot on this are I don't have the names of these people. There's a professor at Harvard who's really knowledgeable about all of this stuff and the genocide and atrocities going on in Palestine right now. But people like her should be consulted and really academics, and because I think that's how we center this more. But if we were to just continue with what we have then we'll yet regret this with something else that just happened as well. So that's what we meant in that. But if you do have suggestions, to for anyone listening, please email us. We would love to talk more about what that means and looks like to you, if that's something that you really care about and want to follow up on. David at davidkimforca.com.
For sure.
Thank you for the question, Tofu.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I do have people in the chat, and I kind of wanted to bring this back from your like previous answer when you were talking about the coalition. I feel that AIPAC challenge, like you would be like uniquely positioned to address that. That's really interesting, and I would like to hear more about that. I know you have endorsement and like volunteer organizations with like If Not Now and Yala Indivisible. Or what are the other like can you kind of just expand on what coalition, how that can help you to like fight back against the corporate funding that Jimmy Gomez is receiving?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to, it's definitely a great coalition that we've gone to see and grow. So with the groups that you've mentioned, If Not Now, LA, Yala Indivisible, Palestinian Christians for Justice, Vote for Peace. And it's because we've all realized, wow, there's no voice speaking on this in any regard from any of our Southern LA congressional members at all, period. And that's why I've participated in actions at Judy Chu's office and other actions as well. So with that, it's creating that. No, it's recognizing that community beforehand, and so that way, when urgent calls come out regarding anything that AIPAC might do or plans to do, we already have that community to look immediately towards and have that support of. And so we're not just kind of on our own in the beginning, and we've built that trust, we've built that support, we've built that rapport and communication. So that's something that we're very grateful for, and we'll continue to help see how we can strengthen. So that's the first and foremost. So where we're not just always on the defensive all the time, as we've seen kind of recently, but we're also being strategic and mindful about what could happen from special interests like AIPAC on the further. So that's definitely giving us an advantage. And number two, and so those would be some of those other AIPAC coalition partners, and indeed want to grow that. And mind us that there are nonprofits that can't formally endorse either because and whatnot. But I do have great relationships and continue to grow in that regards. We have several mosques in our district. I've been to a couple of them already and have attended meetings. And then the other factor, kind of us being more, not well prepared, but mindfully prepared against special interests and what they could do is, given that our campaign, Tofu, really, I'm glad Tofu spoke on it, was the people-centered politics of it all is really what will bring everything back. Like, forget the party politics. That will just get us further away from what we need to do. Like, yes, having more parties is great. I'm all for multi-party, more than 2, 3 major, 4 major, all of that. But given right now where we're at, the really thing that we can do to immediately shift and pivot is really say, hey, up until this time, our politicians and elected officials have just taken commands from party leaders at top, have making what party leaders want the campaign agenda or the party agenda to be for that semester or year, and they adopt it as their own. But no, that shouldn't be it. It should actually be our constituents saying, hey, this is what we want you to focus on right now, go. And we need to flip that model, and our model is to really do that by banning corporate PAC money, ranked choice voting, democracy vouchers, but then really maintaining that, which is co-governance. Right now, there's not a single member out of the 435 Congress members members that are legally required to see their constituent face to face or even talk with a constituent through a phone call. There's nothing that legally requires them to. So of course it's a reality shit show that we see on TV where it's like, what? Why is my Congress member doing that? And they're doing that because they're not giving and having FaceTime with constituents. So we would draft a responsive representation bill that would require every single Congress member to have public monthly town halls that are advanced and noticed, that are both virtual and in person, not just a teletown hall that you're given 1 hour notice call through an automated voice message, and then you finally attend the teletown hall, and then your question is screened, so it's never asked, and they only answer like 5 to 10 questions. So that's not the representation that we need. So really keeping that accountable, having constituent hours where they can drop in any hour, creating online constituent portals where you as a constituent Bret Tofu, you can log into your congressional website, create your login if you want, but be able to submit requests to your Congress members, submit legislation ideas, see any follow-up or replies. Like that's the representation we need. Given, yeah, it's a lot of constituents that they represent, but things like this can help streamline it. And so, or creating a constituent caucus or constituent lobbying day where there's a council of constituents that voluntary, they can meet with the Congress member on a regular basis and suggest legislation, policy ideas, and report back, stuff like that. And so once we have that system built out, then no matter what money pours in, because we have that system and the coalition we've built, we're able to mass message SOS immediately, but then also be able to really strategically already, when that money comes in, without even us having to plan a counteractive, it just doesn't have any effect because of the organizing and the co-governing we've done with constituents. So that's where I would say that our campaign's uniquely in that sense. And I believe Representative Mar, I mean, other Congress members did too, but I believe that she really, that really helped in her favor this time as well. So.
Yeah, I love hearing you talk about the like not like just like a rejection of like the party allegiance and like this idea that like just because you're running as a Democrat, like you have to follow what the party says you have to believe, and you have to vote how the party tells you have to vote. I think we don't have to talk too much about this, but I think we've all been kind of like looking out the side of our eyes and kind of watching very closely as like AOC gets like more close to like the DNC like party infrastructure, and I think we're kind of like still like there's still a lot of like smokiness around what that actually materializes into. But I think like the idea that we could have a congressperson that is like movement driven and that is like accountable to the people that are in that district is very inspiring to me. I did have one question in the chat here that I think is good from one of my viewers. He said, "Hi, David. What is your position on the mask bans targeting anti-Zionist protesters and disabled people that have passed in other parts of the country? And even Karen Bass, LA mayor, has also been proposing recently."
I don't know the detailed development of the LA one recently, but I know that that has been brought up, not just by her. Definitely against, because it's obvious tactic to go ahead and silence and to prevent any voice of opposition in any way. So I mean, yes, the pandemic and cases have been rising, but I don't believe that would be. I mean, it's not. It would be. What's the word? It would be done in bad faith to use that as a reason. Is at the least that I can say, and so definitely against that. Yeah, and I can talk more about that person and with that person if that person wants. David at davidkimforca.com.
Sure.
But going back to what you shared, Bret, I really do feel that I don't know why what we were talking about in Gaza happening is something that's political anyway, to begin with, first of all, and why It can't be called what it is in any instance, no matter which group or what opportunity allows you to talk about it. You should use that opportunity. If you're on national stage, you should use that national stage to talk about it. Anyhow, just stuff like that. Just throwing it out there.
I agree. Tofu, I think your mic is muted. We're not hearing you.
Oh my God.
There you go. Yeah.
I have been agreeing and saying yes. Wow, I love that. Yeah, a lot. But dang,
got it.
bummer.
Thanks, Tofu.
That's funny. I'd like to talk more, or to hear you talk more about like more specifics around people-centered policies. Going through your policies on your website. I really like pretty much everything you've had to say on the website, and that I know about what you've had to say or what you think about housing generally. I noticed specifically a bullet point on your website talking about banning laws that criminalize homelessness. I was wondering what your thoughts are on that, like what that could look like specifically in a post Grants Pass versus Johnson America, like when we have our governor and putting so much pressure on counties and cities to start sweeping encampments and things like this. We're starting to see it happen in Long Beach. We saw it at Dockweiler recently. This is we even saw the governor come to LA while Karen Bass was in France to like get his hands dirty and help sweep encampments himself. Like what does that look like? What does the fight against the criminalization of homelessness look like in the context of Grants Pass versus Johnson?
Yeah. Well, Congress, in terms of the specific holding that court case would have, Congress wouldn't. I mean, it could try to legislate around it, but I think taking a step back, though, that would be too much of a micro view on how to address it. Stepping back, though, I think as a Congress member, funding comes in tied in so many different ways, and there's certain contingency and requirements that are attached. And so, I mean, in terms of funding, if you have if you have a zoning or ordinance or regulation that does something to the effect of criminalizing homelessness in this way, whether that's spelled out or not, then you're not eligible for this type of funding. So that's what Congress members have the power to do. And so although it might not legally be per se to undo what a Supreme Court has ruled on something in that specific holding area, in taking a step back, Congress members have the power to still withhold and grant funding based on what a locality is doing or not doing. And so as long as that's the main priority and incentive, you can go ahead and condition funding in that regard, to a point where localities will think, oh crap, like we're ineligible for this. We can't do this because we're doing this. And so it'll get them to start thinking, and it'll put on that pressure. So that's one way in terms of doing that. And then the second is what's of course, it's super frustrating. Kind of, I'm embarrassed to have Newsom say that as our governor. But what's also very it's that's like a culmination of just no communication, no primary intent or wish to address this, and then no collaboration, I think, has all contributed to this. And I say that if our city council, state assembly, state senate, county supervisor, and congress member actually sat in a room together to talk about these things, and to really, I don't believe that each level would have their respective opinions or actions that they've taken on it. And so when I see something, as an example, when I see Newsom saying, "Oh, LA County, I'm going to take away funds from you because you're the worst at it," like stuff like that, it's like, wow, why am I seeing that as a headline? Haven't you already talked these issues out? And I mean, that's it might seem too elementary as an example, but I think even that's just very telling. And if we had pulled our resources, our minds, and our intentions together, I think we would already be seeing a lot more, but I don't believe that communication is happening. So one of the things that we want to do in a people-centered politics is when we have a town hall, at certain town hall meetings, you're going to have all of your elected reps there at the same room and meeting with me. So I'm not pushing it off to the other member when they're not there. So I'll have at your meeting with me, you'll have your city council members, state assembly, state senate, and county supervisor there with me. So we're talking about these questions all at the same time. And then when we come back, we'll follow up with that. And so, so I hope that kind of goes to, but going to that post world would look like, it would look like talking about all of these things with the local officials as well to see how, from my end, I can better package funding or better implement federal legislation that could help our more aligned officials on the local level to help with that.
Love that. Thank you.
So David, like, what are the things that like your campaign needs? I think it's like a really exciting prospect to have like a member of the squad or somebody with your politics from Los Angeles in Congress here. What does the campaign need in order to flip the seat?
We need, thank you, Bret and Tofu. We need canvassers. We knock on doors Saturday, Sundays, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. right before the sun gets really hot. We're done 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please sign up, davidkimforca.com. Volunteer to find out where. In terms of donating is always helpful. If you don't have the time, small donations are great. davidkimforca.com/donate. And then writing postcards or phone banking for us is also another thing. If you don't want to go out physically, don't have the funds to donate, then that's totally fine. We have phone bank and writing postcards as well, which you can choose to do remotely or in person at the campaign office. And you can find out more about those hours after you sign up to volunteer. And tell 5 friends who live in CA34, or download our actually scratch that. Don't download anything. Tell 5 friends in CA34.
Yeah, just like grabbing a group of people and getting involved in something like this can really, really, really make a huge difference. Remember this, in 2022, David's last race was lost by 3,000 votes. Okay, it was so incredibly close. Like, you as an individual can make a difference in this race and get one, at least. It's a small thing, just having one more seat in Congress, but it's an achievable thing, and it's something that you can make a difference in. And that's like one of the main things I want people to take away from here. So
absolutely. I mean, that's why, like, down ballot, as disenfranchised as as unenthusiastic, we'll say, as people are, more progressive people, younger people are about what's happening on the national stage. Unironically, like, having one more voice in Congress that is like wants to rein in, wants to bring the war powers back to Congress. I saw, for example, has good views on housing, has good ideas about like reigning, reeling back sanctions on South American countries and things like this. Like, there's a lot of really great things on the website and your policy platforms that all of us, the more progressive, people of this country really, really, really care about, and especially the working class people really care about. I saw UBI is on there, which is huge. A lot of really great explanations about UBI, dealing with explanations for all of the typical fears that people have about UBI. I actually, on that, I'd like to just call out that I really liked your explainer about whether or not UBI is socialism or communism. I thought it was like really funny that you just basically took the opportunity to explain what communism was. And it was just like, it was, I don't know, I just thought it was hilarious and really awesome. But my point is, like, while everybody is feeling very, especially young people and progressive people are feeling very disillusioned right now. 3,000 votes, you know what I mean? That's something that we is very doable, because we have a lot of people who are very, very tapped in politically, who are very, very engaged politically, but do not vote and care deeply about all of these things. But they do not vote because they do not think that there is any opportunity for them to make any difference. But like, unironically, having one more voice in the House that believes in all of the things that we all believe in and care deeply about, that would help regular, everyday, working class Americans, that's huge. And it's extremely doable. Like I said, like you said, that that is the most left-leaning district. What was the left-leaning district in California?
So according to this political Cook index, and we have the highest number of left points out of all the 52 districts.
That's something that we can chat. Like, that's something that we can deal with. Like 3,000 votes.
Especially when Jimmy Gomez is not progressive.
Is funded by AIPAC. Like, that's very doable in an area that is extremely progressive. You just need to get people aware that there is a choice for you. People just need to know that David Kim exists.
Right.
It truly. So it is a huge thing for you to be voting down ballot. If you are one of those people, I know there are hundreds of people who watch both Bret and I who feel exactly that way. Like, if you are disillusioned, if you feel like you have no power, like, this is how you do have power.
Exactly. Thank you. Well said.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, like, even the stuff you're talking about with, like, the people powered and the focus on, like, accountability to your constituents, like, that's something that would, for me, like, assuade any, like, hesitations about electoralism I have. Like, the fact that there's videos of you protesting outside of Jimmy Gomez's house, that lets me know that, like, you understand what's at stake here. And if there was a world in which we got you elected and you were doing things that you needed to be held accountable for, I think you would be there to listen. And if we were protesting outside your house, you would understand why, and you would understand that emotion because you've been us in that position.
Yeah. No, I actually told my close friends I had a dream about a protest at my residence. I woke up, I was like, great. That's not something we would ever want to come to that stage, because if we're not having that discussion, why would there need to be a protest? So yeah,
exactly.
Cool. Yeah, no, so if people can help out, just really get the word out, we really have a solid shot this time, and we're not running a third time just for the heck of it. We're running a third time this time to win it. So
yeah. All right. Well, David, unless you have anything else to say, or Tofu, if you have any last questions.
No, I think we did a pretty good job wrapping it up there. I mean, yeah, unless there's anything you'd like to leave us with.
No, not at all. We have 47 days left. Visit us, follow us, share our stuff. Thank you so much, Bret, Tofu, for helping us get out the word. Really appreciate your help.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, David. I know this is like a weird space to be in, and I appreciate you being accessible to platforms like this.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like that, so
I enjoy this. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Take care, David.
All right. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Wow, Tofu, thank you so much. That was so great. You had such good questions.
Listen, I had more. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really? Why didn't you? I gave you this.
Because I don't want to go back, because we kind of moved on. Because I could go in. I really did want to talk about he has takes on his website. He talked about acknowledging and taking responsibility for funding and promoting proxy wars in El Salvador and Guatemala. I was like, what? We could that's great. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk more about I wanted to talk about I brought up the sanctions thing, reeling back sanctions on North Korea, Iran, and I was like, these are this is huge. Like foreign policy is so important. Like we need to be focused on foreign policy more, like more and more good foreign policy, because we can't just like accept these like halfway progressives who have like some good domestic ideas but are like just neocons on the world stage. Like we have so many of those. Like we have so many of those that are like, yeah, like, you know, raise the minimum wage, but also I want to bomb the fuck out of brown children. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Having somebody who has like clear opinions on that. And I mean, even just like what you're talking about with like El Salvador and stuff, like proxy wars, like that is a clear immigration policy that I've heard from anybody in the Democratic Party. Like that would genuinely, having a better policy in regards to those countries would be a much better, like that would do more to curtail immigration than anything that either party is talking about right now at all. So
like, look at this, dude. I brought up the returning war powers back to the Congress, which is huge. Like congressional war powers is huge. Like Obama did nothing about that and only used it to his advantage and became drone daddy, drone Obama. And like we're doing nothing about it under the Brandon administration. There's most likely nothing going to happen under, you know what I mean, a Kamala Harris administration, at least about like giving up war powers back to Congress. But like having more people in Congress who want the congressional war powers back is huge. And on top of that too, was dismantle exploitative or neo-colonial policies of the IMF and World Bank and scale back their current enforcement of market liberalization in the global South. Like, I don't know. When was the last time you heard a Democrat like say those things? Like, I'm trying to remember like the last Democrat I heard say those specific things.
Yeah, I would have been like Cory Bush,
like specifically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and not just be speaking about it generally. Like, yeah, we're about like, you know, diplomacy before, you know, anything else. Like, you can say those things, right? But like specifically naming the neo-colonial and exploitative policies of the IMF and the World Bank, like, that's like, I don't know, man. Like I'm sold. Like that's really great. That's why I just wanted like really like specific things, clarification on like the ICC thing, because there already is an ICC and there already is an ICJ. Like, and how would you get the UN Security Council, which has been dominated by the United States, like infamously, to like create a new ICC? Like that doesn't kind of seems redundant to me. But the point, like, I mean, his answer was good. It's about creating a conversation, and I'm not mad about that. You know what I mean? Like create the conversation. That's good. Like, and I'm a huge fan of UBI and all of these things. I also did want to talk about, like, I know that him and I have this in common, in that we both used to be fans, at least somewhat, of Andrew Yang.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about like where we both like just realized that Andrew Yang was not with the business. Because I remember him tweeting way back in the day, not way back in the day because it wasn't that long ago, but I remember David tweeting like, what the hell happened to you? Like quote tweeting Andrew Yang when he was running for mayor and talking about like being super pro-Israel during his mayoral run. So like that was a huge thing for me too, because essentially in 2019, Andrew Yang like was Bernie plus UBI, so AKA awesome. And then slowly as time went on, he just became like UBI, but also I'm just a fucking liberal, and also like crypto and like like, you know, shit like that. And then he was like, now he's not even talking about UBI, and then he became super pro-Israel, and then like all of these things, like he's just a fucking sellout. So I wanted to talk to him about that, because a lot of his policies are like very clearly like, when he talks about people-centered politics, that's like a rebranded version of what Andrew Yang, like a lot of his policies are literally rebranded Andrew Yang 2019 policies. So I wanted to talk about that.
I feel like I must have just been like elbowing you out the whole time. You had so much you want to ask.
Because like, if anything, because I looked at like what we talked, like, you know, if anything, a lot of that was probably out of place, like would have been out of place. Like I see, like a lot of that would have been cool if we got into more of a conversation like style thing, where like it was kind of, this was more like talking about his campaign, and I didn't want to like stray away too far from that. You know what I'm saying?
I think we.
So, but
yeah.
I think those would be really interesting things to hear him talk.
To be fair, Tofu was muted. That is true. That is true.
My fucking dumbass.
I was like, I see your mouth moving, but I'm not hearing anything. No, those are great conversations. I mean, that I wish we would have asked.
I mean, maybe we could
before
have him back
left, you know?
to like have like a less maybe more of a conversational thing.
Why not? Yeah, maybe after he's a congressperson.
Yeah.
Those are awesome
That was
questions.
really awesome,
and
bro.
you did a great job, I thought. You know, those are like, you know, you're asking really important questions to somebody who it really matters to, you know, like this having like, you're right, like clarity on those foreign policy things are like he's running for Congress. This is exactly like what, you know,
Yes.
this is exactly what
Exactly.
what
Like, if he
matters
was-
the most and
Exactly. If he
probably
was-
never gets asked also, like, you know.
Right. Well, from like a lefty, like who's not like a member of traditional media, you know, and I'm
Right.
just like a person or whatever, you know what I mean, who like cares about this a lot. So like I can just like straight up ask you a question and like try to get you to like clarify. But yeah, like chat, unironically, like when we're talking about congressional candidates, foreign policy is huge. You know what I mean? Is huge. And understandably, a lot of people don't know very much about it. And like, that's not, you know, that's just America. That's just being an American, I guess, like American education, whatever. But all of these things that are mentioned are huge. Even if a lot of them would be facing a lot of like, you know, institutional or like establishment, like pushback, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is how you do it. Down ballot, you slowly get in people who, one, know the actual definition of communism and have it on their website. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that helps.
About dismantling neocolonialism and the IMF, like stopping sanctions on like Latin American countries. Like these are huge. These are huge. Like actually pro ceasefire, actually not pro ceasefire, arms embargo.
Right.
You know, like I don't know, man. This is great. This is good stuff. Like the person he's running against is funded by AIPAC.
Taking over
It
half
is
$500,000 from
simple.
corporate donors and special interest groups like that. Yeah, which is a very, very big, you know, diversion from where David is coming from for sure. So, I guess like you said, this is a people powered campaign, right? So you guys have to, if you live in LA, if you're following this podcast, like this is really where we can make a big impact. So, you know, I hope that y'all hear that. I hope y'all sign up to volunteer or, you know, support however you can. Thank you so much, Tofu. You were so good tonight.
Yeah, thank you. No, you're awesome. Thanks for setting it up, you legend.
Of course. All right,
but good hanging.
I'll see you later.
Bye, Brett's chat. See you guys.